sudden you're starting to actually go up the ladder, because you say you're doing the Hulk, which is different than saying you're doing Spitfire and the Crossfire, whatever the book was, and then I was doing Coyote or whatever, even Infinity Inc. wasn't. But you say you're doing Hulk, your mom's heard of the Hulk, right? So now all of a sudden, instead of you being that sort of, mentally arrested son of theirs that was doing comic books, you're going, he's doing the Hulk. Like, oh, I've heard of the Hulk. That must be legit now. So now you become not so black of the sheep in the family, you become kind of grayish to them at that point. So I start doing the Hulk, and then I start getting faster and faster and faster. And then I go, hey, I can do 2 books. So the editor at that time on the Hulk, a guy named Bob Harris, says, hey, I got another book for you. It was called G.I. Joe. You want to do G.I. Joe? And I'm like, cool, G.I. Joe, it's cool. Now, it always struck me as odd. I'm Canadian. I was born in Calgary, Alberta, which is up above Montana. And at this time I was living in Vancouver, BC, which is on the west coast of Canada. And I always thought it was weird. I was drawn this book called G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, done by a Canadian in Canada, right? I was like, geez, but there wasn't the internet, so you guys didn't know it, right? You guys thought it was a guy from Texas who was wearing a flag shirt every day, right? So I was going, no, it was me, the Canuck, right? The pacifist. So I did it. I did 1 issue on that book, and it was a fight. It was a fight every day. I start doing the 2nd issue. I redraw. It was a fight with the editor. Here's why. I never forget. The editor, or not the editor, the writer. He says, Todd, you got to redraw. And here's why. His attitude was, Todd, you have to assume that the reader is an Aboriginal Bushman coming out of the Serengetis, and he's never read a comic book before. So you have to show everything. You have to dumb it down that much. I said, I'm giving my readers a brand. So I'm going, and I assume they've actually watched TV and movies and actually read a few comic books. I don't think we have to dumb it down that much. But it got to be such a fiasco that I remember I was drawing some pages. I get the phone call, and they phoned me, and they said, Todd, we're going to have to fire you off G.I. Joe. And it was, although I wasn't impressed that I got fired, it's the only time I've been fired, that I went, whew, because that 1 month on that book was just torture. And I remember for some reason looking at the clock going, well, 12:07, okay, I guess I'm unemployed. I have to try and find another book. 8 minutes later, no lie, bring Todd, Dick Giordano. Hey, Dick. He's the head of DC Comic Books. Hey, remember when you left and you said you wanted to do some Batman? I just had somebody quit in a rage, issue number 1 of Batman Year 2. But I need an answer by tomorrow. Is there any way you got time to finish Batman Year 2? And you're going, I'll think about it. I'll get back to you tomorrow. And I'm going, whoa! I got off this book that was torture to me, unemployed for 8 minutes. I got Batman. My wife was making me lunch. I didn't even have to tell her I got fired and hired in that moment. I was like, she's going, how are things going? Good, I'm still working. Why are you asking? So then I was doing Hulk, and I was doing Batman. The 3rd issue, which was the 4th of this miniseries called Batman Year 2, I finally blow a gasket, and I just go, I can't take it anymore. I've got to ink my own stuff. At that point, they were putting like a different inker on me every issue, and it was guys that were complete brush guys, and I had this new modern look, I thought, and I just didn't think it was, on their own they were brilliant, but I just thought it was a little bit of oil and vinegar. So I phone up the editor and I go, look, I know you're gonna hate me, and you've already had one guy quit, but I've got to ink this last issue. I've never inked. I don't know how to ink, but I've got to ink the last issue, and otherwise I gotta quit. And I put him in a tough spot, and you shouldn't really do that. And he went, all right, you can ink the book. And so, in a roundabout way, the guy that I fought with on G.I. Joe, I sort of owe him my inking chops. Because if I didn't get in a fight with him, that led to me getting fired, that led me to be able to do Batman, that led me to be able to ink, I would never have inked SpiderMan. So, and this guy sort of made my career, that guy that I didn't like that much on G.I. Joe. So next time I see him, I'm going to tip my hat to him. But I started doing the penciling and inking on it, and then once that was over, I was back down to 1 book. So I was doing Batman, right? It was either Hulk G.I. Joe or Hulk Batman. And then it was going away, so I was looking for another book. And now all the editors at Marvel were saying, Todd, it's cool, you're looking for another book, whatever you do, just don't go into the SpiderMan office, right? You don't want to go there, it's in free fall, don't want to go there, right? Now here's what you do not ever do to an immature person is tell them they can't do something or they got to be home by 11, right? And if you're not home by 11, something's going to happen. So you always make sure you come in at 11:05 just to see if they're actually going to do it, because it's just how we're wired, right? Another rule, just to save a lot of problems, because it'll come in handy when I talk to you a little bit later. If your mom ever asks you to clean the room and you're running downstairs to meet your friend and she says, did you clean your room? Always say yes. It will solve the problem quickly as you run out the door, and then when you come back, she'll still be nattering and you can clean the room up and you still got to have fun with your friend. So you actually sort of got both things. Don't worry about it. Sometimes you just have to sort of humor people. So I go into the SpiderMan office and they go, Todd, you want to take it? We're having a bit of a problem. Come in. It's dropped like almost out of the top 20. You and David McFarlane, who's going to be the writer, do whatever you want. And I thought, cool, because here's something I don't think that you guys maybe quite understand. When you're doing like drawing comic books or writing comic books or writing a novel or a screenplay, composing music, it is very lonely. It's a very lonely occupation. You sit in a room by yourself for 10, 12, 14 hours a day, and you just are with yourself and your thoughts. So the only thing I was ever doing when I was at the desk was trying to entertain myself through those 14-hour days. Wow. Because I had deadlines, and it was get a page a day. For any of you that ever get into comic books, want to be an artist, a page a day. That's how you do a comic book. It doesn't seem like a lot. That's all it is, a page a day. So if somebody isn't doing a monthly comic book, it's not because they draw slow. I've never seen anybody draw. They're just not at the board. They're at the beach, they're having fun, they're with their girlfriend, they're doing something, they're just not drawing. You have to train yourself. A page a day, then you're done. Monday through Friday, that's 5. Times 4 weeks, that's 20. On one Saturday, you do a cover, bam. You're a monthly guy. Done. That's it. So, it's like going to the gym. I gotta go once a day. So I go there, they give me a book, and they go, hey, and I go, I hear you need some help on Spider-Man. They go, yeah. So I figure I get rubbish Spider-Man or Peter Parker, but they go, we want you to do Amazing Spider-Man. To me, I'm going, wow, Amazing Spider-Man, that's a granddaddy, that's cool. So I go, there's only one thing. I go, they're starting to let me ink on the Hulk, so is there any way I can ink Spider-Man? And they're going, can't ink 2 books. Like, I remember, to them, they're used to one person, one pencil. I was now doing 1 book, 1 pencil, another book, pencil, another book, ink, and another book, ink. So they're going, Todd, you can't do the work of 4 people. And the answer is yes, you can. It's just, my pencils were really sloppy. You wouldn't even recognize what was on the page. I was doing all the drawing with the ink. So I was really only drawing once. They thought I was drawing it twice. It wasn't true. So if you see some of the people here in Artist Alley, you'll see how some of them are very rough with their drawing. So I take over SpiderMan, and I go, the only other thing is that he was in that black costume. I don't know if you guys remember. And they're like, just look Spider-Man to me. I go, when's the Spider-Man costume coming? That's like, that's not Spider-Man. And they go, no, in issue 300, he's coming back. So the best page of the whole issue, to me, if you guys have Spider-Man 300, it's the last page. Because he's back. I'm like, woohoo, he's back in the costume that I grew up with, right? So, and in the meantime, I got to co-create this character called Venom. Right? Now, here's how sort of loose that stuff happens. David McFarlane goes, Todd, we got to do a villain, somebody, it's like the costume takes over somebody else, the black costume, we're going to get rid of the black costume. He goes, Spider-Man, Peter Parker goes to the regular, original costume, so we're going to put the black costume on somebody else. I'm going, oh, okay. Costume to symbiote. It's like an alien. I'm gonna make him big. I'm gonna make a Hulk. I'm gonna give him these cool big teeth. I'm gonna put a tongue in him. He's gonna be all hunched over. He's gonna do whatever. And I draw it, and we get it all there. And then like after I draw it, and we're there. Then Dave goes, "Oh, I forgot to tell you what's going on a human." And I'm like, "What? I thought it was an alien." Like, and so they showed me what Brock looks like. And I'm going, it just looked like a normal guy. And I go, yeah, I thought mine looked kind of cooler. So I never changed it. I never changed it so it looked like a human with a black costume. I just made it look like it was a monster. And I made it so that it was big and thick because, again, when you're drawing, you sort of have these ideas in your head. And so to me, Venom was 3 fingers thick. And Spider-Man is 1 finger thick. And I go, if you take 3 fingers against 1 finger, it seems formidable. It seems like, wow, I'm gonna have to work on this one, right? If it was just 1 against 1, I'm like, you know, so come on, Spider, you can take this guy, right? It's not a big deal. And it was really, when people ask me, what do you think of Venom in the movies, I would have just made him bigger. I would have just made him, again, more formidable as he was going up against them. So we do Spider-Man, I'm penciling and inking, we go. And then eventually, I get to the point where I say, I want to write my own stuff. And here's why. Was I a good writer in the beginning? No. Did I have great ideas? Nah. Why did I want to write? I wanted to write only for one reason, because I wanted to draw stuff that I wanted to. Because here's what was happening. When I was working with another writer, not that I didn't enjoy David's time, I was always drawing David's favorite villains. And I was always drawing Peter David on the Hulk. I was drawing his villains, and I was doing all of their guys. And every time I go, you know, I kind of like the Hobgoblin, they're like, oh no, we'll get to him eventually. So I go, no, I want to draw other things. Here's the other piece of it.
What's up?
Here's what writers need to learn. And let me just tell you, my name is Todd, it only rhymes with God. But if I could be God for one day, three things, you can only do 3 things in that one day, God/Todd. Here's what I would do. I would end war and make everybody equal. I would feed the world, and I would make every comic book writer have to draw 1 issue. And here's why I say that. And it's number 3 after I feed everybody. So here's why I would do it. Because here's what a writer does. And if any of you guys have got a clock, you can time it. We open up in Times Square. It's the middle of the day. It's rush hour. 10,000 tourists and people are there. The traffic is backed up with dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of taxis. An alien Armageddon of 12 spaceships comes down. Thousands of aliens are dropping down with their ray guns. The government and the army, the National Guard are all there, and it's a shootout. Go. Okay, what was that? 28 seconds? That will take me 2 days to even set that up. And I'm probably going to use a double-page spread so I get all that information, right? So it's too easy for writers to just throw away, here, Todd, you draw the 1,000,000 guys. I'm just going to say 1 million. Done. You draw the 1 million. It doesn't seem very equitable, right? So that takes me 2 days, take them 10 seconds. It is not an accident when you see guys like Frank Miller, who's here. When he writes his own stuff, he doesn't do a lot of big crowd scenes either, right? He doesn't do the Avengers, he takes one guy, usually in a corner, and a lot of shadows, and you're in and out, and it's very isolated stories. And so that was the other thing. You have never seen, in any of the stories I've ever written for myself, ever do that scene or anything close to it, because it takes way too long. And I think if a writer had to draw it once, they would never describe that scene ever again, right? It would be, let's just contain it maybe in an office. We don't have to be in Times Square, right? And just let's get it a little bit tight. So I decided that I was going to go right. So I go, I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit Amazing Spider-Man. I'm going to quit Amazing Spider-Man, and I'm going to go and do that. They didn't want me to quit Spider-Man. They go, we're going to give you your own book. Now, again, I've never written, right? Here's the thing that people made a bit of a mistake on. They go, wow, we're going to get the award-winning artist named Todd McFarlane, and then we're going to get this newbie writer named Todd McFarlane. And people were actually thinking that Todd the writer was going to be the equal Todd the artist, but like I said, I'd had a 10-year head start on the art, and I was sort of new on it. But we went on it, we did what we had to do. The reason ultimately I left Marvel was they just wore me out. And they wore me out because it was silly stuff where they went, Todd, stop making the eyes so big. Todd, stop putting so much black in Spider-Man. Todd, why are you putting him in this weird position? Todd, the webbing, it drove him crazy. Well, I invented those sort of long webs that look like a cowboy guy and stuff. So I go, why you got to do that, right? I was just messing with their status quo. And so they would bring me into the office, and Spider-Man at this point is selling more than any book with their corporation. And all they did was just sort of tell me to stop. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because they didn't like the style per se. I kept saying, guys, look, you don't have to like me personally. You don't have to like the style. My job is to sell comic books. I'm doing it better than anybody you currently employ. I don't know, we keep having this conversation, but eventually I just left. I go, guys, I gotta walk out. I'm having a daughter. I was gonna be a dad for the first time. I didn't know what that was gonna do, so I walked out. We started Image Comic Books. I knew that if we left it one at a time, I had been reading, history said that if you leave one at a time, they can replace you. I don't care if it's business, it's sports, it's anything. But you leave in a chunk, and you make an impact, right? You got a team called the Texas Rangers. Yu Darvish was out for a year and a half. You guys were still competitive. But if you took Yu Darvish away, and you took Prince Fielder away, and you took Beltre away, and you took Andrus away, and you took Cole Hamels all at the same time, that would have an impact, and it's what we did. So we started Image Comic Books under the guise of only one thing, just so that you could create whatever it is you want, and you own it, Image Comic Books, let me just tell you, is the best deal in the country for any medium. I don't care, forget comic books, bar none. Here's how it works. You create it, you own 100% of it. We take a small fee to basically get it published. Out. It's yours. And so ask Robert Kirkman, who's getting the money off Walking Dead. It's not Image, it's Robert Kirkman. So it works. So Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane, a couple other guys, we prospered, but there are guys now prospering, and we hope that, if anything, if you guys got a great idea, let us have the opportunity to print it. We're doing 70 books a month right now, and most people know Marvel and DC, but if you ever ask a follow-up question, I wonder who's the third biggest? That's us. For 20 years nonstop, it is us. All right? So. Along the way, when I left, we started Image. I also quickly started a toy company. Why? Because it was just sort of, I was walking down the aisles and I just went, I don't get why they just can't look cooler. It's that simple. And let me tell you, the answer is it can look cooler. Because all it is just plastic in a mold. And the question is, I've won dozens of awards now. And they go, and every time I get one, it's always odd to me. They go, Todd, here, because you do